Live at the WCC Media Day, I spoke with Mark Few, Nolan Hickman, Graham Ike, and Ben Gregg, talking about what they had. We're going to talk about what they had to say about the upcoming season, new players on the roster, the move to the Pac-12, and more.
You are Locked On Zags, your daily podcast on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, y'all? Welcome into the Locked On Zags podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host and longtime Gonzaga podcaster, Andy Patton, here to bring you news and updates on all things Zag athletics. Today's episode of Locked On Zags is brought to you by FanDuel. Get started with FanDuel with $200 in bonus bets that's guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All right, y'all, really exciting episode here of the Locked On Zags podcast. I was fortunate enough to get a chance to go to the WCC Media Day on Thursday and had interviews with a handful of people, 7 different coaches in the WCC, over 20 players from the conference, as well as Commissioner Stu Jackson. Going to have tons of content over the next few weeks before the season begins. My conversation with Mark Few, as well as conversations with the 3 Gonzaga players in attendance, Ben Gregg, Nolan Hickman, and Graham Ike, are all here in today's episode, part of a live stream that I did with Zach Farmer, the host of the unofficial WCC Hoops podcast. So this is a portion of that interview. I'll apologize. There's a few spots where the audio gets a little wonky. That's part of the deal with live shows like this. But for the most part, fantastic stuff. Got a chance to talk to Mark about the Olympics and some really fun stories there. He had a fantastic story about cheering on Rui Hachimura, a great story about Khalif Battle and his free throw prowess, some really fun stuff there. Definitely check this one out. Fantastic stuff coming to you now here for this live stream. Coach, roster continuity has been a huge part of the conversation for this team coming into the season. You lose Anton Watson, a tremendously talented player, a Spokane legend, and replace him with Michael Ajayi, bring in some new talent like Khalif Battle. But in an era where so many rosters are replacing 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 different guys sometimes, how important is it for this team to have the majority of their core still together coming into the season?
No, it's huge. And I think our guys deserve a ton of credit for that. The willingness that they wanted to stay together. They wanted to run it back. They love the program. They love the school. They love the community. And then I think also that there was just a yearning on their part to, be a part of something that's special. And I don't think thought they could find that anywhere else, but they deserve a lot of credit for that because in this day and age, it's pretty rare.
Now, like each year, there's a little bit of a different personality each team. Yeah. As you've kind of gone through camp these first few months, what is the personality of this squad? Because again, you bring back a lot of the pieces, but now you enter in still quite a few new guys as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably still to be determined because there's just so far there has not been a lot of separation, probably 1 through 10 on this crew. Practices have been really, really, really competitive. It's been nice. I compared it a little bit to 2017. And I mean, obviously different. The size we had in that team was incredible, but we could just have these fierce, basically top 10 just going at it every day and flip-flop the groups and all that. And last year, just because of our lack of depth, you just could not do that. We were constantly just usually scrimmaging the scout team and then just crossing our fingers that nobody would turn an ankle or something.
Wanted to talk about the new players in particular, but Khalif Battle, you've talked about him being somebody who is so unique. And really, I believe you said he's unlike any player you've ever had before. And crunching the numbers on him, he made more free throws last year than anybody on this team attempted by like 50. Yeah. Like he is such a rim pressure guy. How much does that elevate this program, just having him in that system, and kind of how does that role work for somebody who has that skill set that we haven't really seen in this program recently?
Yeah, well, listen, and just what we've come to find out, like, not only does he get to the line, but the other day in practice, I think he made 140 straight. So, which again, like, guys, that is such a weapon to have, going down the stretch of games. You think when you have a lead or anything like that, and what a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, he's somebody. I think that you always need guys that can get their own shot whenever they want. I think he's kind of one of those guys. And then B, it's nice to have somebody that can get into the creases and make plays and off the bounce, and that certainly describes him. But he's really been doing a nice job defensively. He's got some size and he's quick twitch and athletic, moves his feet pretty well, and so that's been nice too, because we struggled with our perimeter defense last year.
You mentioned the having more players having more depth, being able to scrimmage and play each other more successfully. How much does Braeden Smith kind of bring in his first year? Because he's not going to be on the floor, barring any changes with the plan for him to redshirt, but he's going to be in practice every day. He's going to be competing against Ryan. It feels like it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship where he's going to make Ryan better this season, and Ryan's going to make him better when he takes over next year.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. I mean, you nailed it. That's exactly what's been going on. He is one guy that kind of has some great leadership qualities, does a great job communicating on the floor, even though he kind of knows he's probably not going to play this year, but yet, I mean, he is fully in and participating like he is going to play this year. And also, he's really raised up the level of competition within the practices.
Now, like of the returners, I mean, the guys who came on, like Graham, Ryan, and Ben, like they at the beginning of last year were all trying to kind of find their roles and where they fit in. Yeah. Going into this year, because they kind of had it solidified by the end of the year last year, how much different has it been for those three to kind of like understand where they are, what their role is going into this season, and kind of be able to just hit the ground running into this year?
I mean, I think it's been huge, but again, it goes back to the first question. I think they all wanted to run it back because they did know what their roles were going to be, and they did know how much we were counting on them, and so I think kind of both those aspects kind of tie together.
You mentioned the perimeter defense. You brought in a guy who was a very good perimeter defender last year in the WAC, in Emmanuel Innocenti, and we saw him play a big role in the craziness scrimmage, of course, and you've talked about kind of him, there's a potential for him to redshirt. It sounds like that might not be the case. What does he bring to this team, whether it's this year or maybe down the line a little bit, that maybe this team doesn't have that he can kind of help with?
We knew what we were getting defensively, and a guy that can really, really guard his yard and just has this gift of getting over a ball screen, again, which is something we struggled with last year. But, I mean, he can really shoot the ball, guys. He's got a great three-point shot. And, again, with how effective our bigs are, that's something that, is going to be necessary, too, for spreading the floor out a little bit and giving us a little more room.
Two sophomores stepping into, both who played big roles last year, Dusty Stromer and Braden Huff, who redshirted. And how valuable are those two guys to this team this year? And what have you seen from them over the offseason, kind of coming into what feels like it's going to be a really big season for them?
I mean, I do think it's going to be a big season. I think they got a lot of game minutes under them, and I think I noticed a difference there with just probably confidence. They've both done a good job of changing their bodies a little bit, so I think that's going to be huge. Obviously different with what they bring. I mean, Dusty just kind of fills every box out there on the perimeter. He can handle it, he can pass it, he can shoot it, he can score it, he can rebound, but you're constantly looking for more. I'm hoping his strength that he has gained help him defensively. And that's where he kind of struggled last year, and then his shot was a little bit inconsistent. With B Huff, he's just one of those guys, a little bit like Drew, that can really, really get buckets, but he really got picked on a lot defensively last year. So that's been the challenge for him. And I think he's done a good job, on that in the offseason.
All right, last question. I'm going to change gears a little bit. Back to Paris for the Olympics. We're able to have a little bit of a mini Zag reunion with the guys that that ran through your program? Rui, Kelly, were you able to kind of get together with those guys?
Not as much as we had hoped for. I think people started dropping fast. In the end, I got some good time with KO and Andrew here in Vegas with that game. And then I think the expectation was we were probably going to meet in the gold medal game, but that didn't come to fruition. And then, we were hoping to connect with Rui up in but he stayed in Lille, and we were going back and forth to Paris. But it was great. It was a great moment. Myself, LeBron, and AD all sat in the lobby and watched Rui's game, and were rooting like crazy, and just so upset they had that France game won, and just kind of those those flagrants on him are a joke.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool. Just kind of sharing stories, of Rui while we were watching.
Got to compete against Philip, too.
Yeah, and I was going to say we probably saw too much of Philip, man. That was like I don't know what it was. It was like Washington Generals. We just kept playing them over and over again. And man, Philip played great. Yeah. He really played great. He did a nice job of kind of confidently playing within that role, alongside Jokic, which I think he makes everybody look good. But he did a nice job. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks,
Coach.
You
got it, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Moving on to talk to our trio of Zags stars, talking about how critical having nearly everybody back from last year's roster is for this upcoming season, and how some of the young guys have adjusted to being in the Zag culture, all coming up here in just a second. But first, guys, have you ever felt you need a little boost in the bedroom? It's time to stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel confident knowing that everything's going to be just fine when you're in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with 100% access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. This process is all online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. All right, folks, still here. WCC Media Day live conversation coming up with Graham Ike, Ben Gregg, and Nolan Hickman, talking about the upcoming season, the continuity, having everybody back, getting ready for what should be a fantastic season here for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Check it out.
All right, guys, three guys here who've two guys have been in the system a long time. Graham, obviously, coming off a fantastic season. One of the big things for this team last year was a lot of new faces, a lot of guys adjusting to new roles, switching more off ball. Obviously, Ben, your role changed. And this year, that's not really the conversation. Obviously, you lose a tremendous player in Anton, but for the most part, 7 of 8 guys are back and bring in some great guys in Michael and Khalif. But how much does it help in terms of just practices and scrimmages to kind of have so many guys who are already familiar with their role, are familiar with the system, are familiar with, what Coach Few is asking out of you guys?
Yeah, I think it helps is bringing the new guys up to speed. Catches up. Sometimes it's difficult. You don't have a bunch of new guys coming into the program. They're all trying to learn at the same time.
Yeah, along the line of what Ben was saying, I think in this new age of college basketball, that's bringing back the whole entire team for the most part. It matters a lot just because we're not having to waste time. But spend extra time on certain things with our flow or do things. And we're also bringing, like you said, seasoned vets who have played high-level minutes at a high level. So it definitely just helps us, man, a lot.
I gotta stop going last, man.
Taking all the answers.
Yeah, man. Nah, they said it all, man. It's really exciting, having this tight knit group, just come back and be the core of the team it means a lot, and it goes to just show you, how Zags basketball really is, the culture behind it, just how close we all are, and just to bring in these 2 or these 4 transfers, it just means a lot, and it does a lot to the team as well, so yeah, I'm excited.
Just the competition in those practices, because again, like now, like last year, you guys had a lot of guys were banged up, you were a little bit younger, but now you guys are running like 9, 10, 11 deep. Like, just kind of talk about like just that level of competition that's happening in practice and how that's obviously changing everything you guys are able to do.
Yeah, man, it's been chippy every day. And yeah, it just goes to show you just, how competitive and how, again, just the Zag way. The Zag way, every practice is just, it's another day to get better. It's another day to be the best who you are, I feel like. And with this being 11 deep, that just goes to show you the depth that we got and how we could just put it all out there on the floor every time we come out there. And if we could do that with another, sub coming in right after us to leave off where we started. So, yeah, man, it's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
Every day is a dogfight, to say the least, with all these guys and the talent that's on his team. So, like Nolan said, we're constantly getting better, and I can feel the growth every single day. And so, like, yeah, man, we're just getting better every single day, and we're having a great time as well. Mm-hmm. So that's really what matters.
What they've said. I mean, bring your hard hats. You're coming to our practice. That's how it is.
How have the young guys adjusted? I mean, I think we're looking at guys like Ismaila and Emmanuel and guys who are probably not going to play big roles this year, but being in this dogfight, as you guys talk about in practice, like how does that elevate their game and kind of get them more prepared for whatever their role looks like this year and going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this a little earlier, but I think as of right now, I feel like our practices might be harder than some of the games we're going to be playing with how hard we play and how much competition there is and who we're playing against. I mean, and they're going against us every day. High level dudes who want to win, and they're trying to bust your you-know-what every day. So having that experience can be big time for them. It's going to help them, along the line when they're the older guys, the vets here, and they know how to kind of lead the group and what to expect.
All right. I mean, you talked about just like how like some of these games are going to be tougher than some of the games you actually have in the non-conference, or really just kind of moving forward. Because I mean, expectations are kind of sky high for this group, and obviously, as much as you want, you try to like probably tune out what all the outside is doing. But when you think about what you guys were able to accomplish a year ago, you still got back to the Sweet 16 despite everything that seemed to try to go against you. Going into this year, just talk about like what the confidence level is inside that locker room, because again, like, you guys you kind of had almost the same level of success a year ago in a quote down year.
Mm-hmm. I definitely say the confidence level is high, while at the same time still seeking growth and trying to get better. So we're still trying to find that fine balance, and the fine balance is still there. But we're really focused on getting better every single day, man. If we get better today, it's going to take care of tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so that's what we're focused on.
All right, Nolan, I'll ask you one. A lot of really good battles the last 2 years against St. Mary's, and in particular against Mr. Aidan Mahaney, and you guys are going to face him at the Madison Square Garden against UConn. Obviously, UConn, a team that has been a bit of a thorn in Gonzaga's side the last few years. How excited are you guys for that matchup in particular, and getting a chance to play against defending back-to-back national champions and a familiar face that you've had a lot of experience playing against?
Well, it's always fun playing against them, and well, it's not always fun. We have been losing, but we got to get this win, and I think we just go about it just like any other game, just like the Baylor game, just like our first game. I feel like we just got to go in, knowing that we got to take one game at a time, and it's gonna be amazing. Being able to play at Madison Square Garden as well, it's the mecca of all basketball, so it's gonna be amazing.
Graham Ike speaks about his experience in the Mountain West Conference and what Gonzaga and their fans should expect with the move to the Pac-12, facing teams like San Diego State and Boise State in the near future. Also, another fun Khalif Battle free throw story. All that coming up here in just a second. But first, folks, let's talk about FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start this season with a huge return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. And you'll get started now with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. we're talking to these players, how about some Wooden Award odds? Graham Ike, plus 4,000 right now to win the Wooden Award as college basketball's best player. Ryan Nembhard is at plus 10,000. And Khalif Battle, going to hear more about him in a second. He is next at plus 17,000 among Gonzaga players. Folks, that's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, folks, closing out the show with more conversations with Graham Ike, Ben Gregg, and Nolan Hickman, talking about this upcoming season, the new players on the roster, a little talk about Gonzaga's move to the Pac-12 and the rivalry with Washington State as well. Check it out.
Two new guys who are expected to play big roles this year, Michael and Khalif coming in. And we talked about the continuity and the veteran experience of this team. And you get two guys in who've played a lot of college basketball, and Khalif's been at 3 different schools up to this point, and Michael played some junior college ball and played in this conference last year. How important is it not only to have new guys coming in who have that level of experience, but what does that mean just for the overall kind of quality of practices, quality of games when you get into that, and kind of how those guys are going to be able to adjust to those roles?
They're really good players, man. They're really good players, and they could adjust anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they could adjust anywhere, and for them to choose Gonzaga, that just goes to show you, just like I said, our culture. What we bring to to college basketball. And we're just so tight knit. We're a family, and I feel like that's what they felt on their visit. We made sure of that. So yeah.
Yeah, with those guys, man. They've already come in making key contributions, not just on the court, but who they are as people. They're great people, and they ultimately are Zags. And like Nolan said, we want to make them feel a part of this brotherhood early on, and I think they've totally bought in by how hard they work, with the energy that they bring every day, and just the people that they are. Man, I'm glad to have them on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sometimes more difficult for freshmen coming in to a high-level program and, don't know what to expect practice-wise, game plan-wise, and it's how serious we take this on and off the court. So, for them to come in with college experience already, kind of go through the ringer with, the college, off seasons, all that stuff, weight room. So, I mean, it's just big time to have, two guys that have been through it.
Washington State and Oregon State joined the WCC this year. Has there been, especially with Washington State, like with the amount of fans and presence there is in Spokane, like has there already been some back and forth between some of those fans, or like what's been kind of like not to say the reaction, but like has there been any movement on like the budding rivalry that Washington State and Gonzaga are going to have moving forward?
I mean, I'm not sure what to expect, honestly. I mean, obviously we're just right down the street from each other, and yeah, there are a lot of Kook fans in Spokane. But, I mean, I'm expecting, we already have such a great environment every game, so it's probably going to be close to the same for those home games. But I'm sure they might sell a couple more tickets in Pullman when we come to town, and, kind of maybe start a little rivalry. Both going to the Pac-12 in the couple years. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. We wish we had a football team to play against them, but, this is how it is.
So speaking of moving to the Pac-12, obviously currently the league's not done, but we know that by the time Gonzaga's in the Pac-12, they're going to be playing a lot of schools that are from the current Mountain West. And Graham, you have a lot of experience playing quite a few of those teams from your time at Wyoming, and obviously you guys have played some of those teams as well. But what can Gonzaga fans expect against teams like San Diego State and Boise State and those teams that they're going to be competing against in a couple of years?
Yeah, especially with those two teams specifically, it's going to be dogfights every game, as you saw last year with San Diego State. And that's how it is with them all the time. Like every single year that I've played them, it's been nothing but a battle. It's just a physical brand of basketball that they both play. But I think it'll just be a lot more exciting game.
Mark Few said that Khalif Battle made 140 straight free throws in a practice. I can't verify whether that's true or not, but one of the things that he really brings to this team is a tremendous amount of rim pressure. And in an offense where there's a lot of motion and a lot of movement, for him to be able to get downhill and get to the cup, I mean, it feels like that's going to open up a lot of things on this team that maybe we didn't see from this team in the last couple of years. How impactful can he be for this team, particularly on the offensive side of the ball?
Especially at that free throw line, huge, man. I actually watched him make 69 in a row, no cap. It was crazy to me. I was like, wow, because we were supposed to shoot until you missed. And I'm like, man, I'm not ever getting on if you're going to stay here. But just, he puts a tremendous amount of pressure on that rim, just the way that he attacks and how aggressive he is. But also what people don't see is how great of a defender he is, man. He really plays hard on both ends of the floor.
All right, I think we're wrapped. It's like, all right. We got to let you guys go.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for me today here on the Locked On Zags podcast. Massive thank you, of course, to Mark Few, Nolan Hickman, Ben Gregg, and Graham Ike for joining us on WCC Media Day. Big shout out to Zach Farmer for helping set up this live stream at the Media Day. Of course, shout out to Tim Miguel in the WCC offices, handful of other folks who helped make this thing happen. Really enjoyed my opportunity to speak to these folks. We'll have more from WCC Media Day. I had conversations with Randy Bennett. I had conversations with 3 of the players from St. Mary's, talked a lot about that Gonzaga rivalry, talked to Stu Jackson, the commissioner of the WCC, about Gonzaga's move to the Pac-12, about what the WCC is going to do going forward and some potential changes to where this conference tournament is going to be played. All sorts of fun conversations there. Many other players got a great story from Pacific coach Dave Smart about his son's love of Andrew Nembhard. Tons of other great things coming your way here, so check them out. We'll also continue our player preview series, talking about every player on Gonzaga's roster as we get ready for the upcoming season. Fun time to be listening to Locked On Zags right now. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you have not done so yet. Join us on the Locked On Zags Discord channel. Free to join, link in the show notes. Again, talking Zags all the time over there. Thanks again for listening, folks, and until next time, as always, go Zags.